Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning, everybody. And we are back. The retreat was titled Insight Meditation, and really this session does justice to the title. So this session is specifically about the meditation part of it. Now, why meditation? If you look at the classic manual of meditation, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there meditation is defined as the calmness, the absolute calmness of the mind. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. If you translate that, it means yoga is the cessation of the modifications of the mind. By modifications of the mind, what is meant is all that we think and feel and perceive, if all that is calmed down, then that is meditation. The whole of the process of meditation works towards this absolute calmness of the mind. Why would you want to do that? Sounds boring. The purpose is given in the third sutra. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Then the self, you, yourself, what we truly are, is appreciated, is grasped in its real nature. So, Swami Vivekananda explaining this sutra, he gives the example of a lake. The lake is the mind. And when all the waves and ripples in the lake have ceased, and the lake is quite still, and the water is clear, two conditions apply. The lake has to be still, and the water has to be clear. Then you can see right through to the bottom of the lake. You can see the bed of the lake. Similarly, when the mind is absolutely calm and pure, clear and still. So clear means the clarity of the mind is the purity of the mind, and absolutely calm, then the self, what you are. We are pure awareness according to the yoga philosophy. Purusha, or the real self, is pure awareness, pure consciousness. That is grasped, that we realize, oh, that's what I am. Otherwise, what happens? What happens at other times? At other times, when the mind stuff breaks out into waves, the lake of the mind breaks out into waves, then the self becomes clouded, obscured by that and identified with that. So the fourth sutra says, Vritti Sarupyam Itaratra. At other times, the self, pure consciousness, what you are, becomes identified with the modifications of the mind. It sounds abstract and philosophical. Actually, it's not. It's something that we experience all the time. There's a modification in the mind, anger. Our experience is, I am angry. There's a modification of the mind, that maybe greed, or I want this. The result is, I am that which wants. So the modifications of the mind and you, the self, you and your mind become one. And therefore what you are in yourself is not appreciated. So that's how Patanjali Yoga looks at meditation. Therefore the necessity of calming down the mind, so that you can see what you truly are. And if you ask, what's the point of seeing what I truly am? The whole problem of life is solved there. All the problems of life are because we do not know what we truly are. And the claim is, if only you would know yourselves as you truly are, all the problems of your life would be solved. Solved in the sense, in an absolute sense. Not that your mortgage will be paid off and your phone will be replaced by the latest iPhone. No, not that sense. You would transcend these problems. The world will remain as it is. This is not what we are going to talk about. The path of Advaita profoundly disagrees with this approach. Why? As we realized yesterday, we had 2 sessions, and the insight that we gleaned from these sessions. The first session, the insight that we gleaned from the first session, this is important because none of this will make any sense or will be of any use unless we are clear about the insight itself. The meditation aspect of it is secondary. The insight is important. What is the insight? The first insight we gleaned from it was, I am pure awareness. I am not the body and mind. The body and mind is that which I am aware of. The world is that which I am aware of through the body and mind. But I am neither body nor mind nor the world. So this is the first step. And this sounds a lot like, you might say this sounds exactly like what yoga said. I am pure awareness apart from the mind, and hence calm down the mind so that you can see yourself as pure awareness. But wait, this insight, as we saw last time, yesterday, is not the conclusion, is not the end of the teaching. The end of the teaching is the second insight. This pure awareness I am is limitless. What do you mean limitless? And doesn't the yogi also say I am limitless consciousness? True, the yogi says I am limitless consciousness, and when the very next step stumbles profoundly. The moment he says I am limitless awareness, I must realize that, and I am not this world. Meaning thereby, there is a world apart from the limitless awareness. Prakriti and Purusha, consciousness and matter. You will say, so, what's the problem? The problem is, you just said limitless awareness. And the moment you say that there is something apart from awareness, you have limited it. Limitless means there is no limit to it. There is no end to it. There is nothing else apart. Limitless, what does it mean? It's not limited in space. It's not limited in time. And it's not limited by the presence of other objects. No, not making sense? The Advaitin says to the yogi, you do not understand the very word you are using. The moment you say limitless, infinite, it admits no other reality besides itself. If there is a second reality besides itself, then you are in a dualistic mode of thinking. And the moment you are dualistic, nothing is infinite anymore. I am pure consciousness. The yogi says, I am pure consciousness. Unlimited pure consciousness. What are you? So are you. Are we the same consciousness? The yogi says, no, no, no. Each one of us is a separate, unlimited consciousness. Contradiction in the very words itself. And not only are there any number of infinite consciousnesses around, there is also the entire world of time, space, matter, energy, which the yogi calls Prakriti, nature. Very scientific approach. Prakriti and nature. The non-dualist asks, what is this Prakriti? Is it a separate, independent reality? And the yogi says, yes. It's that which consciousness is aware of. And it exists by itself. It's nature. It's the cosmos. You might say, what's wrong with that? Nothing is wrong with it, except that then you can no longer claim that this consciousness is infinite. If there are many consciousnesses, you have limited consciousness because there are many of them. Each one is not the other. And apart from consciousness, there is non-conscious matter, energy, time, space. Again, there is something, not only something, lots of something, which is not this consciousness. Do you appreciate this point? How the position of the Sankhyan, of the yogi, is deeply, fundamentally self-contradictory. No?
Yes.
What was the Advaitin's position? The non-dualist position is consciousness is truly infinite, unlimited, in which case we are not separate consciousnesses. There is one awareness shining through these many minds and many bodies. Number one. Number two, minds and bodies and the world, they are not an independent reality apart from consciousness. They are consciousness itself. By the extraordinary power of Maya, you have multiplicity of names and forms. And consciousness appears in all these forms. But they are not apart, they are not independent reality. They are not apart from consciousness. In which case, consciousness, awareness, it becomes non-dual. Non-dual means no second. Advaitam, no second. There is no second consciousness, and there is no second entity called non-conscious matter, time, space, energy. So it's one reality. And Vedanta insists that one reality is all that exists, and that thou art. The universe is one with you. It's not a separate thing you are aware of. Not only that, it says that's what it is right now. It does not need you to do any kind of peculiar spiritual practice called yogic meditation to make it so. It is already so. No, but we need to do that to realize that it is so. Not even that. Advaita says, again you are mistaken. The problem is not the restlessness of the mind, the waves in the lake of the mind obscuring the Atman. No, no, no. The problem is ignorance, not knowing what you are. Tell me, let's take the lake and the mind example. You are the water, and the mind. See the water. Let's call it. Let's take this example. The lake itself. The water is a reality. Now, when the lake is in motion, waves, thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas. If the lake is in motion, there are waves and ripples. Are the waves and ripples water or not? Yes. The lake in motion is water. The lake absolutely still is also water. Absolutely. The point is not to make the waves still. The point is to realize that you are that water. And to realize that the ignorance that I am not the water, that has to be removed. And that is removed by knowledge, insight. And that insight is developed by hearing, reflecting, meditating. Hearing and reflecting is what we did yesterday, and now comes the subject of meditating. Now notice immediately, in the Sankhya Yoga pattern, meditation means calming the mind so that the truth becomes evident. That's a model. The problem is the movement of the mind. Have you noticed how they distinguish between the lake and the bed of the lake? So the lake becomes an obstruction sort of. But what Advaita says, no difference between lake and the bed of the lake. It's one reality. And you need to know it as that one reality. Then it's perfectly alright. For the yogi, the world is a problem. It has to be erased, at least from his own awareness. So you have to sit down. What do? Close your eyes. It won't work if you have eyes open. Relax. It won't work if you're agitated. And then inwards, not outwards. Outwards is world and distraction and samsara. Inwards is peace and calmness. Sounds great. Advaita says you are making a fatal error. What have you done? One teacher in the Himalayas, he put it this way. He said, you have locked up your beloved in the jail of samadhi. लो अपने प्यारे को समाधि के कारागार में बंद कर दिया. Your beloved exists only in the jail of samadhi. Outside samadhi, nothing. Trouble. Of course, I'm oversimplifying the yogic position or Sankhyan position, but I'm doing it. They're absolutely right, it works. But I'm doing it just to make this what we're going to do today more clear. Otherwise it will not make much sense. What does the Advaitin say then? What needs to be done? Ignorance needs to be removed by knowledge. And that requires hearing the truth, reflecting upon it, and meditating upon it. Hearing the truth gives you the information. Then you can say, I know it now. Okay, I noted what you said. Reflecting upon it gives you clarity. Then you can say, I get it. And meditating upon it makes it living. You can say, it's real. As real as I am here sitting in this chair, I am Brahman. It's a fact. Not a concept which I get. Not a philosophy which is nice to know. But it's absolutely a fact. So that's the role of meditation. What meditation does for Advaita Vedanta is, it does not reveal the truth to you. Oh no. It stabilizes and sort of realizes the insight you have already got. If you have not got the insight, it will not help much. Breakthrough one must make, and then you want to stabilize the breakthrough. Of course, to get the breakthrough also, meditation is helpful. To dwell with what you have already understood, it becomes a living reality for you. To put it in more technical terms, in Advaitic terms, what is the role of hearing, what is the role of reflecting, and what is the role of meditation? Hearing removes what is called pramanagata samshaya. That means questions about the teaching. What does Advaita teach? What do the Upanishads teach, and the Gita and the Brahma Sutras and Aparoksanubhuti? What do they teach? Once you listen to the teaching, first stage, that question is answered. Teaching is, I am this infinite awareness, that thou art. That's the teaching. I've got it now. This is what the first question is answered. So that's the role of hearing. Second thing, now what happens is, you remember yesterday we talked about it. I know what you are saying, but it's not clear to me. I have several objections, doubts. So that you take up in the second stage. In technical language, it is called asambhavana. Asambhavana is, I know what you are trying to say, but it's impossible. It's not real. It's not true. Why? I am a body. I am a body-mind. I'm so clearly different from all of you. How can I be one with everything? I'm not. I can clearly see the difference. I am clearly the body. How can I not be the body? So these doubts come. This is called the doubt of impossibility. I know the teaching and my reaction is, it's impossible. So it's called asambhavana. And that impossibility is removed in the second stage of reflection. When you question and inquire, then it seems to be possible. How is it possible? For example, somebody says, the ocean is one. No, the ocean is 10,000 waves, continuously arising and changing and But no, when you reflect upon it, waves are not the reality. The reality is water, and that is not 10,000. That is one body of water. Then you begin to say, okay, it makes sense. From the perspective of water, it is one body. It is one reality. Like that, we go through a process of reflection. It's a vast integral. As many questions as you have, so many answers and insights are there. Once that is done, the third problem comes up, which is, the second one was asambhavana, impossibility. Third problem is viparita bhavana, contradictory tendencies. I now know the teaching, I understand the teaching, but my life is not changing. I still go on this way I was. I react as a person, I react as a body-mind to the world. And I keep on suffering. Remember, the whole point was to overcome suffering. We keep saying that it's an intellectual knowledge. We keep saying that I understand it in the class. I lose it once I go out of here. So this is the third stage. Viparita bhavana means contradictory tendencies. I understand that I am pure awareness, but I behave as if I am the body and mind. So this is the third stage. That one is removed by meditation. That one is removed by meditation. These contradictory tendencies. So meditation helps me to assimilate and practicalize operationalize, they say weaponize the insight you have got to deploy it in your life. In fact, one of the teachers, he used the term weaponize. In the Himalayas, I was learning Ashtavakra from him. He said, he was teaching the Ashtavakra, and we were monks were sitting around him. Once in a while, he would teach very well, but once in a while he would close the book and look pensively out into the Ganga, the river flowing by. Then you know the real gems are coming. Something has occurred to the old man, he's going to tell us. So one day he did that, and he looked, and then he said, "Oh monks, these teachings are weapons. You go out and you're attacked by the enemies of lust and greed and anger and prejudice and hate and misery and weakness. And you are equipped with swords and shields. Why don't you fight those enemies? You get a slap and come back weeping." In Hindi it's even more pungent what he said. I tell you in Hindi. This is exactly what he said. I'll be telling you the original words now. He said, "Mahatma ji, ye shastra hai, astra hai, these are weapons. Haath mein dhal talwar, you have shields and swords in your hand. और दुश्मन से 2 थप्पड़ खा के रोते आ गया, क्या मजा है महात्मा जी? And you get 2 slaps from the enemy and come back weeping. What's the fun in that? Oh monks, you are equipped. So this, how to deploy this in our day-to-day life? This is the approach. Alright, now with this background, I will go into the actual teaching of meditation. Many Vedantic texts towards the end have a section on Vedantic meditation. So this meditation is different from the yogic meditation. The yogic meditation, which is basically the classic model of meditation for all forms of meditation. In all forms of meditation, what do? They're forms of mind control. This is not mind control. This is, let's put it this way, being centered in reality. All meditations are mind-centered practices. You repeat a mantra. You visualize a deity. Look, you can't keep thinking about a dozen different things. You have to visualize the deity. You can't keep thinking about many different things. You have to repeat the mantra. So bring it back again and again to the thing which you are supposed to do with your mind. That's meditation. Or in another form of meditation, not a specific thing, but a global alertness, awakeness. So some forms of vipassana aim at that. Where you follow the breath for some time and you're supposed to be aware of the breath, but then you become alert and awake and aware, and you're aware of what's going on. That's another kind of meditation. But Vedanta, this is not like any of them. This is quite different from them. So we'll see how. Every book has a little bit of Vedantic meditation in that. This book especially deals with the subject deeply and also in a very interesting and I would even say mischievous way. What it does is, Shankaracharya, what he does is, he takes the terms from yoga, the actual yoga practices, he borrows them from yoga and he subverts the meaning of each of them, as if to show the difference between Vedantic meditation and yogic meditation. Why does he do that? Is he attacking yoga? No, because at the very end he says yogic meditation is very useful not only for yoga, it's very useful for Vedanta also. After all, a calm and focused mind is useful for anything, for learning anything. If you go to a class and you're learning history or physics, you can't learn if you're texting all the time or on Facebook all the time. You can't. So you have to be focused there. Similarly, even in Vedanta, you need to be calm and focused. It won't do if your mind is wandering here and there. So yogic meditation, he says, is absolutely a good groundwork, preliminary for Vedanta. But Vedantic meditation is something different. So what he does is this. He takes 15 practices from yoga, 15 practices, and changes the meaning of each practice. What are the 15 practices? This he does from verse number 101. 100, from verse number 100 onwards to 100 to till more or less the very end. you can say. He discusses meditation. The end is 144. In between 2 or 3 other subjects come up. Actually, let's say from verse number 100 to 134. Yeah. 100 to 134 is the actual discussion on Vedantic meditation. The 15 practices are, I'll give you the Sanskrit names and the approximate translation, then we'll go ahead. What are the 15 practices which he takes from yoga and transmutes into Advaitic or non-dualistic meditation? Yama. Yama means moral practices. Niyama means moral disciplines. You know Ashtanga Yoga from Patanjali Yoga? So the 8 practices there are 8 limbs of yoga in Patanjali. Yama, moral practices. Niyama, the moral disciplines. Then asana, how to sit. You say, I have to learn how to sit. Oh, there's lots to learn how to sit. Our sitting is basically disastrous. So how to sit. Then pranayama, which is how to breathe. I have to learn that too? Oh yes. In fact, BK's anger, when he came to teach Hatha Yoga here, in his early days, he notes that the Westerners who would walk into my studio, I noticed something startling about them. They were hardly breathing. They were using only a part of their lung capacity. So pranayama, breathing. Then the 5th one is pratyahara, withdrawing the senses. Notice, the yogic approach is to calm down. So withdraw the senses from their respective objects. Then the 6th one is dharana, focus. Focus. Begin to focus on something. There will be many objects of focus, but on something. Internal. Then the 7th one is dhyana, meditation. Dhyana is meditation. Many people say we are practicing meditation, not realizing it's the 7th of a series of 8. It's not all that easy. You have to have the earlier ones before you do the 7th one. And this word dhyana, it is transmuted interestingly. It becomes the Pali jhana. Dhyana, meditation. In Buddhism, the word for meditation is jhana. It's exactly the same, dhyana. And that becomes the Japanese Zen. It's the same word, it has traveled across. So meditation, the 7th one. And the 8th one is samadhi. The goal of all of this. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Complete cessation of the modifications of the mind. So that is samadhi, the ultimate stage of dhyana. And there are grades of samadhi. Alright. This is the Ashtanga Yoga. Shankaracharya in his book takes all those 8 and adds 7 more from other yoga texts to make a total of 15 and changes the meaning of all of them completely. So it goes like this. Yama, which I just mentioned, moral disciplines, niyamas, yama is moral practices, niyama are the moral disciplines, tyaga, renunciation, maunam, silence, desha, space, the auspicious place, a good place for practice. Kala, which is time, proper time. Asana, sitting, 7th. Mula bandha, which Hatha yogis use. There are certain locks to be applied in the body, internal muscle locks, which makes your asana more powerful. So Mula bandha. Deha samyam, posture of the body. Number 8. Number 9. Then 10. Drik sthiti, where you keep your eyes. Where you keep the eyes. Then number 11. Prana sanyamanam, that means control of the breath. Number 12. Pratyahara, withdrawing the senses. Number 13. Dharana, focus. Then number 14, dhyana, meditation. And number 15, samadhi. So 15 practices. And you feel familiar, yes, we know that. Then he proceeds to startle you. So we will do a few of them. You'll get the hang of what he is doing. The first one is yama. Yama and niyama. Yama are basically the moral, to simplify it, the moral don'ts. The universal moral values actually. And niyama are some specific disciplines. Niyama literally means discipline or rules in Indian languages. So the first one is yama. Basically moral disciplines, tell the truth and be self-controlled and things like that. And the boring part of yoga, the non-glamorous, hard part of yoga, to clean up your life. Otherwise yoga really doesn't work. There's this funny story of a person going to a yoga teacher to learn meditation and says, teach me yoga, teach me meditation. And the teacher says, all right, there are 8 limbs to it. The first one is moral practices. You must tell the truth. You must be self-controlled. You must be non-violent. And this man goes, oh, I know all that. We learned it in grade school. You go ahead. You teach me how to sit and meditate and breathe and meditate. And the next part of it works in Hindi only, not in English. He says in Hindi, Ashtang Yog Sikhoge ya Viklang Yog Sikhoge. What it means is, you want to learn the 8-limbed yoga, the 8-limbed yoga, the handicapped yoga. That you want to chop off 2 limbs of the yoga. Basically, the most important limbs, the fundamental things are the moral practices. And we don't like it. We're being told to behave. So, but that's the beginning of yoga, the foundation of yoga. What are the moral practices? Ahimsa, non-violence. And then satya, truth. Stick to the truth. Then brahmacharya, literally it means celibacy or not violating the norms of proper sexual behavior. But also it means in general self-control, control of the senses. And then the 4th one is your asteya, non-stealing, not to take what does not belong to you. And that can have a lot of implications in today's world of environmental consciousness. A lot of deep implications. It's the implications for ecology. Anyway, then the next one is aparigraha. Even if something is offered to you, unless you really need it, don't take it. I remember a senior monk would tell us, because we are monks, we're constantly loaded with gifts. People are generous. The big problem is not that you are deprived. The main problem is to say no. I don't need it. So one senior monk is to tell us, just because you're getting it, just because you are being given it, you have to take it? No. In Bengali, he would say, pelei nite hobe. Just because you are being given, you have to accept it? No. It's very important for a spiritual practitioner to retain a moral independence. And moral independence ultimately means a very simple life. Not more than what you need. And it's a wise way of living. That really is more conducive to happiness than a consumerist way to happiness. And I'll give in to temptation and tell you this. In the Imitation of Christ, the book which Swami Vivekananda loved very much, it was written by a medieval Christian monk, Thomas à Kempis. In the Imitation of Christ, the writer imagines a dialogue between Jesus and the disciple. And this disciple asks Jesus, sort of imagined dialogue, how do I get peace? And the answer that is given there is very shocking to us in the modern world. It's just counterintuitive. Just the opposite of what we are doing. What is the answer? So Jesus says, my son, if you want peace, do these 4 things. What are the 4 things? First, always seek to have less rather than more. Just the opposite of our entire economy and culture. Always seek to have less rather than more. Consciously, deliberately, reduce. The second one is even more difficult. and even more shocking. Always seek to be last rather than first. In matters of position and enjoyment and getting ahead of others, no. You can excel. That is not, as a diversion from a diversion. Compete, the word, it usually is understood to mean getting ahead of others. But the original, if you derive the meaning of the word, I think it's from Latin roots or something, it means to excel together. Calm is always together, not get ahead of the other. Because the other one is running, I have to run faster. He's helping me to excel. That is the meaning of compete. So, always seek to be last rather than first, not to go ahead of others in everything. And then, this is the second one. The third one, even more difficult. Always seek to do the will of the other rather than your own will. What an amazing thing to say. In all things we feel that we must get our way. We are being slighted, insulted, put down. I must force my way through. And the last one is most important, the fourth one. In all things seek to know and accept the will of God. Whatever happens to you in life. So this is the way to peace. How did this come? Aparigraha, non-acceptance of unnecessary things. So always seek to have less rather than more. Anyway, no wonder we do not have peace. If you see, the gospel of our time says, always seek to have more rather than less. Always seek to be first rather than... What you teach the kids? Always seek to be first rather than... Certainly not last, not even second. Always seek to be first rather than second. Then the third one, always seek to have your way. My will be done. And then the last one is God's will. God doesn't exist. What God's will? So, no wonder we don't have peace. Just the opposite of what it says. Anyway, aparigraha. These are the moral practices. Back to yogic and Vedantic meditation. And this is what we must practice as a preparation for meditation. What does Shankaracharya say? Sarvam brahmeti vijnana indriyagrama sanyama yamo yam iti samprokto abhyasaniyo muhurmuhu. He says, with the intuition that everything is Brahman, all the senses become automatically controlled. Morality becomes natural. This is what should be practiced. Not separately truth and self-control. So what does it mean? Let me tell you a little story. A story which I love very much. It's very popular among the monks there. Not very popular, but that's where you'll hear it. I told you earlier, the princes of Kashi. Some of you may have heard it. There was a prince who... Well, the story is, in a kingdom, ancient India, a play was staged in the court. And in the play, one of the roles was of the princes of Kashi. Kashi is Benares, the modern Benares. So, princes of Kashi. And she was supposed to be a little girl. Now, there was no little girl there to play the role, so the prince of that kingdom, the queen said, the prince is about that age, 5 years old, and he's very cute, you can dress him up as a little girl, and he will be the princess of Kashi. And that's how the play was staged. And the prince, dressed as the princess, looked so cute, the queen said, make a portrait of him, dressed in that dress, in the princess's dress. And they painted the portrait. These days it would be so easy, selfie or something like that. But then they had to, court painter had to paint up. And years passed. 15 years passed, and the prince was quite grown up and doing princely things, riding around and hunting and learning his royal duties. One day he was exploring the palace in old and forgotten corners of the palace, and he goes to the basement, he's exploring old stuff. And then he finds this dusty old painting, and he rubs the dust of the painting, and he sees this little girl, princess of Kashi, dated so and so. She's my age! And he falls in love with her. And I will not be happy until I marry this princess of Kashi. But he's shy, he can't tell his father, he can't tell his mother. They notice something's wrong with him.
He's not paying attention to his studies or his hunting or riding or whatever. Finally, to cut a long story short, the wise old minister asks him, "What ails you, O prince? You can confide in me." And the prince tells him that I am in love. "Oh, very good. Who is she?" "Oh, she's the princess of Kashi." "Oh, how wonderful, a princess. Absolutely the right match for you. Where did you meet her?" "Oh, I haven't met her exactly. But I've seen her picture in our basement, a painting. And that also from a long time ago. But she's my age." And then the minister says, "An old painting, Princess of Kashi. Can you take me to the painting?" And so the prince takes him to the painting, and this is she, and I will not be happy until I marry her. And then the minister looks at it and he says, "Prince, you need to sit down." "This is not the Princess of Kashi. Whoever she is, I'll marry her." And he says, "No, look, 15 years ago there was a play staged in our court, and there was a role for the Princess of Kashi, and the queen said to dress you up as the Princess of Kashi, and you put on the dress and you acted, which you've quite forgotten, and now a painting was made of you, and it's not the Princess of Kashi, it's you, O Prince, that thou art." Tattvamasi. Now, the question is this: what happened to the desire of the prince for the Princess of Kashi? That I will not be complete until I get that. What happened? The desire went up, disappeared. Why did the desire disappear? Did it disappear because he was frustrated, he could not get the Princess of Kashi? No. Did it disappear because he married the Princess of Kashi? No. Why? Knowledge. That there is no Princess of Kashi apart from me. I am the Princess of Kashi. Always was and always will be. It's I in another form. The Word is our Princess of Kashi. You are everything that you experience. It goes out there and shines in front of you and tempts you. And yet, other than you, the consciousness, it's an aspect of your consciousness. It is not an external reality that you have to add to yourself to make yourself complete. You are complete. So, Shankaracharya says, dwell on this ever complete awareness which you are. And all the moral practices, truth, self-control, all of this will come to you automatically. It will automatically come. So you see how he's changed. He completely, he says, center yourself in that insight. This is dhyana. Then niyama. Alright, let me skip. Another one, tyaga, renunciation. So the yogic idea of renunciation would be, I give up sense enjoyments, or maybe I even become a recluse, or maybe I become a monk. I give up marriage and children and family, and I retreat to a cave in the Himalayas. That is the yogic idea of renunciation. I give up the actual things in the world and be by myself and pursue my spiritual goal. And there are many such, even now in the mountains, and there have been such people in every religion. So this is the idea of renunciation, and good. But what does Shankaracharya say? Tyaga prapancha rupasya chidatmatva avalokanat tyago hi mahatam pujya sadyo moksha mayo yataha. What is renunciation? Renunciation of prapancha, the entire universe. Yes, how? By realizing it to be nothing other than consciousness. The universe is renounced, given up, when you realize everything remains exactly as it is. But when you realize it is nothing other than I, the limitless consciousness. All of it is appearing in me, the consciousness. This consciousness pervades everything in the universe. And this clarity and dwelling in this clarity and living like that is renunciation. You see how the idea is radically changed. So does it mean that I actually have to give up things of the world? Practically come down to brass tacks? Yes and no. As long as you are centered in this idea, you are the greatest renunciant. That's what renunciation is. You could choose to be in the world. You could choose to be a monk living in a cave. You could be an emperor running an empire. So the examples are there. Janak Raja, the emperor, great emperor, who was supposed to be an enlightened person, and yet running an empire. And Ashtavakra, Shukadeva, all renouncing monks who wandered the face of the earth without any possession at all, without any attachment at all. Both of them, according to Advaita Vedanta, are equally enlightened. There is no difference. Because they are centered in this view of the world. Ramana Maharshi was once asked, you know about Ramana Maharshi used to live in a cave in the Arunachala hill there. Ramana Maharshi, who am I, is fame. He would always ask, find out who you are. So a lady, a housewife, asked him, is it necessary to become a monk and go and live in the forests or mountains to become enlightened? He said no. You could do so while being a housewife. Then she said, in that case, why are you sitting in a cave? And his answer was instructive. He said, Mother, that is my karma. And you are working in the kitchen, that is your karma. It has nothing to do with enlightenment. There are many, many stories in our Puranas and all which show this, that people at any level can be enlightened, any kind of station in life. So this is what he says, the Isha Upanishad. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat. The first line is extraordinarily powerful. Cover everything in this universe by the Lord, by God. And the meaning of that, Shankaracharya says, cover everything by God means what? Like you put a bed sheet over the bed, like that you have to put God over everything? No. He says, cover means uncover. God is already there. How do you uncover? Uncover means discover. Cover everything by the Lord means uncover the Lord existing in everything. And uncover means discover. Discovery is always by knowledge. You realize, oh, this is what it is. And it is none other than I, the consciousness. Let me skip ahead. Alright, let me take the next one. Silence. Practice of silence. Maunam. The yogic practice, in each case I am telling you the yogic original meaning, the yogic meaning, and what Shankaracharya has done, what mischief he has played. So the original yogic meaning of silence is a lot of energy is wasted in talking. You might be thinking, look who's talking. I know, because I give talks, I know how exhausting it can be. A lot of energy is wasted. So we have to be careful how we use the tongue, the organ of speech. The tongue is the sense organ of taste, but also the organ of speech. How you use, a lot of nervous energy is wasted there. So the yogis recommend that silence is a practice. Maunam means silence, not to speak. Silence of the body, silence of the speech, silence of the mind. One yoga teacher in the Himalayas, his method might not be very appropriate to modern America, but very effective. He sounds more like a drill sergeant than a yoga teacher. He barks at the people sitting on the mat, like he says, don't move, they don't go. Don't speak, don't think. In Hindi, he would instruct in Hindi. Hilo mat, bolo mat, socho mat. Good actually. So that is maunam. That is the second one is don't speak. And the speaking is not just of the tongue, it's of the mind. The mind is chattering. The mind is chattering. I remember a monk in our order, I won't take his name, he followed the vow of silence for a few years. He wouldn't speak. But he would communicate with sign language. So what he had to explain was with sign language. And other monks had a royal time with him because they would hurl an insult at him then at breakfast time. He speaks with outsiders. He doesn't speak with monks. That's all he does. And that monk is vehemently denying it. No, 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 like that. And this monk doesn't look at him, starts eating. And to his fury, because his communication won't work until you look at him. But the interesting thing is, this kind of forced practice, you can see the negative effect of it. One night I shared a room with him in one of our ashrams. He was visiting, so they gave us a guest room. I didn't know that he was, that's the first time I met him. And he was under the vow of silence. Now he's not, but at that time he was. He went to sleep at night, I went to sleep the next bed. All night long he chatted away. He was talking in his sleep all night long. Mumbling something or the other. And next day in the morning when I woke up and I told him, Swami, you are talking in your sleep at night, all the time. And he goes, oh, me? No. Denial. But it just shows, if you force it, the mind is not going to take it. So the mind is going to express itself in other ways. A much better practice, Mahatma Gandhi used to keep silent one day in a week. Ranganathananda used to keep silent one day. He was a very great orator, so he would keep silent one day in a week. I should start. Now, what does Shankaracharya say? What is silence? Yasmad vacho nivattante aprapya manasasaha yan maunam yogi virgamyam tadbhavet sarvada buddhaha. From that, from which words return without attaining it. The mind returns without attaining it. That is silence, which the yogis are trying to attain. That the enlightened one, that means the non-dualist, always is that silence. What is that? That is Brahman. Brahman is that which words, language cannot express. Kena Upanishad says, Yad vacham anabhyuditam yasmad vak abhyudyati. That which the language cannot express, but by which language itself is manifested. What is that? Consciousness. Language cannot refer to it, it can only point to it, the pointers which we discussed yesterday, but it cannot directly express it. There are no words to express it, what you are. So that is silence. That is the real silence, because language cannot express it. Even thoughts cannot express it, cannot grasp it. So the beautiful phrase is, from which words along with thoughts return without attaining it. That is silence with a capital S. What is that silence? It's you. It is pure awareness. And he says, yogis are trying to attain it. And the non-dualist, let alone attaining it, is always that silence. You are it. You are not being silent. You are silence. Yeah. And Shankaracharya goes on. I will not read the whole thing. The end of it he says, Gira maunam tu balanam prayuktam brahmavadibhi. By the masters of Vedanta, the teachers of Vedanta, they say the silence of the words which are practiced by the yogis, that is the silence to be practiced by children. It's for children. Balanam is for beginners. He says it's not unimportant, it's important. It's important, like if you enter a kindergarten or a grade 1 classroom and everybody is yelling and you say quiet, and the kids go quiet for a moment. That much is the use of the physical silence. It's necessary, otherwise no learning will be there. Remember, Shankaracharya is not criticizing all of this. At the end he will say all of these practices in the yogic sense are very valuable. You must have that groundwork before you can actually think of realizing this higher form of practice. So he says that. One more we will do. There are 15. But now you're beginning to get the handle on this. Every practice, whatever it is, he will simply say, be centered in you, the pure awareness. That is that practice. Sitting is that practice. What is sitting? Not how to sit on a meditation mat, but when you're sitting on your real nature as Brahman. Okay? What is the vision? So there's a big question in yoga. Where do you focus your eyes? Because your eyes are wide open, you look around and you can't meditate. If you close, you fall asleep. So there's a question of where to look, how much to look. So this is a question of where to keep your vision. What will Shankaracharya say? You can say already without looking at the text. He will say keep your attention on that I am Brahman. That is vision. I quoted Jonathan Swift the day before yesterday. Gulliver's Travels. Vision. We think vision is seeing with the eyes. He says no. Vision is seeing the invisible. True vision is that which sees the invisible. That is really seeing. Then, what else? Let me give you one more. We've just got time for one more practice. Pranayama. Breath control. What is breath control? The yogic breath control is, the yogis noticed, control of the mind is not easy. The mind is subtle. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says, the meditation that you are teaching me, O Krishna, is no good. Because to control the mind is as difficult as trying to control the wind. It's so subtle and so restless and so powerful. How can you control the mind? So the yogis found an intermediate. There is something that you can control, much easier to control, and controlling that, the mind comes under control. What is that? Breath. Breath is one of the functions of the body which goes on by itself but is also amenable to voluntary control. So if you regulate the breath, the idea is the mind also becomes amenable to control. Regulate the breath means they noticed that when the breathing is deep and even, the mind is also calm. When the breathing is heavy, the mind is dull. When the breathing is fast and shallow, the mind is excited. So, when you are angry, or excited, or sick, you'll see the breathing changes. It becomes fast, shallow, or heavy. But when you are calm and focused, if you notice when you are focusing, not an intense, excited focus, then the breathing stops. But when you are focused, you are studying something deeply for a long period of time, you will see the breathing has become even and light. So they devised this method, a whole science of the breath, with the point of controlling the psyche. It has also downward effects. Downward effects means pranayama has great effects on health of the body. So that's why they do that. Prana is the one which regulates the health of the body. But the other effect, the upward effect, upstream effect is the effect on the mind. So, for example, the classic pranayama consists of three things. Inhaling, holding the breath, exhaling. Then inhaling, holding the breath, and exhaling again. So it goes like this, and you have a count. The count is, the minimum count is 4, 16, 8. So you count here, say Om for each count. So the way you do it is, you close this way. I'm not teaching you pranayama. This is not about pranayama. And then you do 4 times Om, close like this. And then 16 counts of Om, and then release 8 counts. Om. And then breathe in 16 counts, hold. Breathe in 4 counts, 16 counts, hold, and release 8 counts. So this is one pranayama, one whole cycle. And you do this 4 times, 8 times, 12 times, and so on. And then the counts also increase as you get better at it. Now, this is the yogic pranayama. What does Shankaracharya say? What is pranayama? Let's see. Nishedhanam prapanchasya rejakakhya samiranaha brahmevasmeti yavritti purako vayuriritaha tatas tadvritti naischalyam kumbhaka prana sanyamaha ayam chapi prabuddhanam ajnanam grana pidanam. So he redefines the whole thing. He says, first you breathe out. What is breathe out? Notice the falsity of the word. Nishedhanam prapanchasya. It's not a reality out there. You know, most of our reactions are because we think I am this reality and there is a separate thing called other people, other events. But even a little bit of common sense will show you that's not so. All the people you see, all the things that happen in your life, they are coming in through the senses. All of you I am seeing. Actually, you know what I am seeing? Light is reflected from your faces, and the only thing that enters my eyes is light. Obviously, that's the only thing the eyes are designed to receive. And the moment they enter the eyes, they are no longer light. An image is formed, and then it's immediately converted into tiny electrical impulses. It's not a face, it's not even light, little impulses in the optic nerves, and they race to some centers in the brain where somehow, nobody knows how, those electrical impulses are reconverted into an image. Image means not an optical image, now a mental image. What that might be, no scientist knows till now. And yet we all experience it all the time. I see you then. This is basic science of perception. They will tell you that it's happening in your brain. Whatever you experience, you're actually experiencing in the brain, not out there. So all the people you see, they are in your mind. Literally. Whether they're actually out there or not is a question of philosophy. But what I'm saying precisely, follow this. The experience that you are having right now, all your life, and the only possible experience you can have is in your brain. It's inside, it's in you. It's a tautological statement. There's no way out of it. So the world is an appearance, jagat mithya. This is exhalation. Exhale the word out, breathing out. Remember, we're talking about breathing. Breathing out is breathing out the universe. There is no universe, it's only consciousness. And appearance is in consciousness. Then breathe in. Aham brahmasmi. I am Brahman. This is breathing in. I am that consciousness. Then holding the breath, stabilize there. That I am that consciousness. Then repeat. And you actually don't have to synchronize this with the breath. It is the knowledge which is being, you're stabilizing yourself in the knowledge. It really has nothing to do with the breath. This is pranayama according to Shankaracharya. And this statement has a sting in the tail. And the end he adds, ayam chapi prabuddhanam. This is the pranayama, the breathing of the wise. The world is an appearance. I am consciousness. Stay there. This is the breathing of the wise. And what is the breathing of the yogis? The unwise. He says, ajnanam, and of those unwise people, their pranayama, he says, grana pidanam, it is torturing the nose. They're playing with the nose. Very unkind. So this is the way he keeps on going. Now, if you have any questions, let me tell you a little story which Shraddhanandaji, apparently he told the story. He was in India, Bimal Maharaj, and he saw Swami Subodhananda, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, an enlightened soul. He used to sit on the second floor of the Belur monastery next to Swami Vivekananda's room, looking out on the Ganga. And on the other side is Calcutta, the city of Calcutta. He would sit there and read on the veranda, and he would usually read the Adhyatma Ramayana. So one day, Shraddhanandaji saw this old Swami sitting up there, reading, looking up and laughing. Again reading, looking up and laughing. So he was curious. He goes up to the Swami and he says, Swami, I can't help asking, what are you reading? What are you seeing? And why are you laughing? And he says, you know, This is the book on Vedanta. What does Vedanta say? Brahman is real, the world is an appearance. So he says, when I see Jagat Mithya, the world is an appearance, I read and I look up and I see all of it. The words he uses are heaps of ashes, chayi, which means basically worthless. None of it is of any value or importance. And then again I read, Brahma Satyam, Brahman alone is real. And I look up and I see the same thing. He says, all of it is Sri Ramakrishna. And I burst out laughing. This is pranayama according to Shankaracharya. Being stabilized is in wisdom. There are two sides to this. One is when you look at it from the point of the word, it's an appearance. When you look at it from the point of isness, consciousness, it is the reality, the divinity, God, whatever you call it. Advaita Vedanta chooses to call it the real you, what you really are. Questions? We have a little bit of time for questions. Please go and ask a question. Tell us your name and ask a question. There's no mic. I think they're recording it, so it will help them.
Actually, I don't have a question. I just wanted to inform everybody that either Swami Gambhiranand or Swami Prabhavanand has written a book called Silence Age Yoga. It's a pocket-sized, very small book.
Paramananda. I think Paramananda, Swami Paramananda has written it.
Okay.
I think so, I'm not very sure.
It's a pocket-sized book, very small book.
Small book.
Excellent book.
Yes. Question, please come here and ask the question. Two of you, okay.
Maharaj, my name is Prakash Rao, and this has to do with yesterday's talk.
Yes.
And also what you mentioned today, Jagat Mithya. And I don't mean to be impertinent. But
No, be impertinent. That's the only way to learn in Vedanta.
So, the normal example given is, I see a rope and in my ignorance, I think it's a snake and I have the body reactions.
Yeah.
But I flipped it and I said, if it is a snake and I think it's a rope, that could be a fatal mistake.
True.
So this idea of trying to say the world doesn't matter, it's an illusion, could be very dangerous in ordinary life. So in a very subtle manner that may be true, but in a gross manner it could affect us very negatively.
Right.
So how do we reconcile both of them?
Right. It's a good question. This teaching about the falsity of the world, calling the world an appearance, that you're experiencing the world, nobody can deny. Even Advaita, Shankara cannot deny that you're seeing something. Who can deny it? You're seeing it. Right now you're seeing it. A dream, for example, when we wake up from it, what do we say? Oh, it was a dream. We don't say, I never saw a dream. We saw it, but we realize its status is it's a dream. Similarly, the status of this world is it's an appearance, Brahman alone is real. This is what Shankara wants to say. Now, is it dangerous? Look at the words you used. In ordinary life, it may be dangerous. You know what the Advaitin would say to you? Ordinary life is dangerous to you. Ordinary life is doomed. Death, unhappiness. Guaranteed. The only escape is this. Only escape. And it takes a long time to learn it. That's one. Second, in a subtle sense, you said, in a subtle sense it may be true, in a gross sense it's not true at all. But we are not trying to be gross here. I want to emphasize to you, it's a good thing to say, what we discussed day before yesterday and today is the final teaching of the most ancient of religions. The final teaching. Not the beginner's teaching. Not the base camp. It is the peak of the Everest. Beyond this lies silence. No more teaching is possible beyond this. So you would expect the final teaching to be extremely subtle.
If the final teaching confirms what you or I see with the eyes, then what kind of teaching is it? I see a physical world out there, I am a body, I have to eat and drink, I have to chase some pleasures and avoid some pains, finally grow old and die. If the highest teaching religion says, yes, that's the reality, what's the use of that? I already know it. Veda, the spiritual teaching, one of the interesting definitions is Ajnata Gyapakam, that which tells you what you do not know, which reveals to you what is unknown. If it reveals to you something that is already known, no use, I don't need it. It shows me something that's not at all evident. What is evident is the word. But what Vedanta says is this. Now, Vedanta does not dismiss the word. You can look at it in another way. Swami Vivekananda says, not from falsity to truth, from lower truth to higher truth. I am a being and this is a separate word, our common idea. Vivekananda says, instead of calling it false, you can call it lower truth. Everything is God, higher truth. If you like that terminology, fine. You don't like mithya satya, false, real, then you can say lower truth, higher truth. That also is possible. There is a story about a non-dualist, a monk in the Himalayas, and a pandit who was a dualist. The word is real, he says, and it's a separate reality from us as we perceive it. Dvait in Hindi, Dvait satya hai, duality is real. So that was the debate they used to have. And this pandit, the scholar, said to the monk, Dvait satya hai, duality is real. Then the monk said, if you call yourself a pandit, tell me something new. The pandit was a little confused. What do you mean? That duality is real. Yonder cow also knows that the grass is separate from me and I have to eat the grass. If you are a pandit, tell me something new. So, I think in Hindi, पंडित हो तो कोई नई चीज बताओ, द्वैत सत्य है वो तो गौ भी जानती है. Duality is real, even the cow knows that. What extra thing have you told me? So that was the But remember, this is the highest truth. There's no doubt about it. If this is unpalatable, step it down. Instead of saying true and false, say that Brahman is the whole of which the world and we are all parts. This is qualified monism. Even that is too much, step it further down. There is the word, exactly as you would say it is there. You are also there as this person, and everything in the world is true. Plus add one more thing, there is something called God. That is dualistic religion, and that is the religion of the masses. Don't step it down any further. Then you come to pure materialism. There is no God whatsoever. It's just this word. So we look at, from Advaita point of view, Dvaita, Vishishta Advaita, Advaita, they see it as a hierarchy. Sri Ramakrishna did not see it as a hierarchy. He said all of them are true. But non-dualists tend to put them in a hierarchy. The ultimate truth is the peak of the Everest. Now, the peak of the Everest is not a comfortable place. Vivekananda said, the ancient sages of India, they took this so high to a truth where he says, human lung can scarce breathe. You feel that if you really take it seriously, you're taking everything away from me. Right? It's not taking everything away, it's revealing the reality of everything, what everything truly is. It is the way to peace. It is really the way to peace. Notice I said something, that yoga tries to avoid the world, erase the world, and go inside in samadhi. What does Vedanta try to do? Vedanta is not against the experience of the world. Vedanta is not against the waves in the ocean. Let there be waves in the ocean. You recognize it as the same water. Still ocean, ocean and waves, exactly the same thing. Sri Ramakrishna used to call it Vijnana. This is what Advaita Vedanta wants to say. Again in Hindi. I'm sorry to use so much Hindi, but I'll translate. Because the words are so powerful. Advaita vyavahar ko mitata nahi hai. Advaita is not against your transactional life. अद्वैत आपको व्यवहार में निर्बाध बनाता है. Advaita makes you, how would I translate nirvana? Limitless, absolutely free, absolutely, at ease in your transactional life. You're freed of the terror and tension of life. There is no death for you. What can you be afraid of? There is no other to you. Whom will you reject? Everything is you. When you see the world, it is all me. I alone appear in all these forms. When you do not see the world, you do not hanker about an unseen world. You are perfectly at peace because that same infinite reality is you, just not being expressed as a word. That infinite is always there. So this is what I want to stress. I always do not say these things, but once in a while I feel like cutting loose. And it's good to know these things. Otherwise you'll find a book like Ashtavakrana indigestible. It will be terrifying. Yes. So there was a young man at the back. I'll ask you next. Let him ask.
So
tell us your name.
My name is Rishit. So basically, we read a lot, and we've been saying this a lot, that it's kind of Maya, and the soul is the only thing that's real, Brahmans, that's real. But why is it still that knowing this, hearing this, believing in this, we go out and we still go after the material things, even though realizing that's not the end, that's not what we get.
If you know this, then you have completed the first stage, hearing. If you believe it, if you're clear about it, then you have completed the second stage. Then your problem with what you asked, you see, when we began this talk, what is the purpose of meditation? I know it and I believe it and I'm clear about it, yet I behave as I used to behave earlier. Then that, it's called viparita bhavana, contrary tendencies. Why does it happen if you ask? It's because of the programming of the mind. Knowledge has come in the intellect and removed ignorance in the intellect. But it's not just the intellect. We have an enormous pre-programming. The chitta, the samskaras, they're all there. And they have to be cleansed. There's a lot of house cleaning to be done. Use the light of your understanding to live like that. That will help. Meditation is for that. To stay. Have you seen in these 15 steps, always he's pointing to one thing. This intuition, I am that Brahman, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. It will become clear. The more clear it becomes, the more sense it makes. It makes sense. That it is so. And really does not disturb anything in the world. You can go on, but you will be transformed. And you will be at peace finally. Thank you. Tell us your name.
My name is Swamiji. My name is Shilpa Sharma. And my question is this just the understanding or the knowledge that I'm Brahman, or is it really an experience?
A direct answer to your question would be, it is an experience. But, again, there's a qualifier. It's not a new experience. When you get that experience, it will be like, I always was this. This was always there. How come I never saw it? It is continuously available to me. Why the language of experience has to be carefully dealt with? There are a variety of mystical experiences. Visions of God in different forms, visions of holy people, visions of light and sound, very elevating, sublime, but they are specific experiences. They are not the experience of drinking coffee and going out shopping. That's very different. Those mystical experiences, very few people have them, and they are very valuable. They are life transforming. And if you have even one, you'll never forget it in your life. Some people will get it. But what we are talking about here is not like that. The mystical experience is different from all other experiences, and it comes and goes. It's not there all the time. Even Sri Ramakrishna, when you talk to Mother Kali, it would happen once a few times a day. It comes and goes. And it is distinct from other experiences. And it is rare, and it is generated in a very sattvic mind, a very spiritual mind. Once in a while you get it. And that's good. But what is talked about here is, it is an experience, but it's not an experience distinct from all other experiences. You realize All experiences are based on this. Once you have this, once you walk through this particular gate, there is no coming back. It is continuous and unstoppable. If you have this breakthrough and you completely ignore it for the next 10 years, it will be as strong and clear and unescapable as the first time you made the breakthrough. So, because it is consciousness itself. Where will you run away from it? It's always there. So the Kena Upanishad says, we'll end with this, the Kena Upanishad says, Pratibodha Veditam Matam Amritatvam Hivindate. In every experience, if you realize Brahman, you attain immortality. Not just in mystical experience. In mystical experiences, that's a divine experience, very good. But in every experience, taking coffee and going for shopping also, it's there. It's always there. So when you have that, that is the end. That is the end of the game. Attainment of immortality. I think we've run out of time.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have ended at 12.
That's okay.
Okay.
5 more minutes.
And quick questions. At least I see 2 hands there. Please come quickly, one after another. You also can come up and stand behind him. I went to a talk by Slavoj Žižek. If you know him, good for you. If you don't know him, don't try. He is in today's philosophy world, he's like a superstar. Completely mad also. He came to New York and he was giving a talk. Whole hall full, 300 to 400 people, all young people. Long hair, beards and backpacks and so on. So question. In the question answer session, there would be 2 microphones and long queues. And there was one guy who was not giving up the microphone. And when the manager came to say that, hand it over to the next person, he said, call the cops. Now that's a dedicated questioner. He will not stop. Go ahead.
So in the traditional meditation, we do like 2 times a day, and look at the picture of Swamiji or Ramakrishna and meditate on that. Now this Vedantic approach is different.
Yes.
So which one we should practice? How do we know?
I am glad you asked this. I totally forgot to mention it. Those who are initiated with a mantra, never ever tamper with that. Do not give that up, number 1. Do not change it ever. So Guru has initiated you. That's much higher than listening to a talk or reading a book. Guru has given you a mantra, Ishta Devata, go on practicing that. There's a term in computer science, firewall. So firewall it. No other information, nothing from outside should get into it. It is not meant to be continuously upgraded, when I was coming here, I was trying to call an Uber, the miracle of modern technology with a mobile phone. When I started, the phone said, updating Uber app. That's the exact time it chose to update and that particular app only. Don't update the meditation app. So as the Guru has given, like that, seriously, sincerely perform it. Know for certain, it is my personal belief, all this interest in Advaita, these opportunities for learning this, learning that, all these things are coming because of that little mantra Guru has given. Our spiritual life, the engine of progress, the source of power, your connection to the divine is that one.
If we are not initiated yet.
If you are not initiated yet, you can try this. You can try any mantra. If you are interested in a serious spiritual life, I would advise strongly to get initiated. I'm not saying you have to get initiated in our tradition, but pick up basically it gives you a root in a spiritual tradition. So do get initiated. And all of these are good, helpful. That's how I approach it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is for everybody, not just for him. I know a lot of people are initiated. You are going to mess up big time if you start changing your mantra. I'm upgrading it with the latest updated insight meditation update. No, don't do that. This is separate. Yes.
My name is Anand. Since we talked about the difference between yogic and Vedantic, my question is, in yogic, from what I understand, there is Nirvikalpa Samadhi is amongst the last stages, but after that there is Kaivalya. So what's the difference between Kaivalya and I guess like you said in Vedanta,
the Jivan being one with Brahman? What's the difference? The moksha in Vedanta and the Kaivalya of yoga. Kaivalya of Yoga and Sankhya. I had actually asked this question to a great scholar, a Pandit. He was the president of the Howrah in Calcutta, Howrah Pandit Samaj. He is now no more. It's being recorded, so I should not say anything critical. Anyhow, but he was a good scholar. The reason is, suppose somebody says he's a scholar, he's not a spiritual man. Maybe, but because he's a scholar, he's a master of the texts. He can supply you with the information you're seeking. You're not trying to get enlightenment from him. So I asked him. I was in a talk with him. He was the president of the session, and I was one of the speakers. And because he was very old, he was 95 years old at that time. So he arrived early, and he had to sort of be helped onto the stage. And he was sitting there. Nobody, the audience had not come, and only the two speakers were there. He was there, and I was there. So I leaned over and asked him, the Sankhya viewpoint, you have to yell into his ear. Sankhya viewpoint and the Advaita viewpoint, in the ultimate analysis, what difference is there? In the procedure, we know difference is there. In the philosophy, difference is there. Ultimately, where they end up, what difference is there? The Kaivalya and the Moksha. He listened and answered. This is the sign of I'm not saying enlightened person, spiritual person, I'm just saying a good scholar. Answer was straight and to the point. Half a sentence, he said. In Bengali, he listened and he said, Drishtir Pathokko. Difference of point of view. It's enough to a person who has studied Sankhya, Yoga and Vedanta. Because of the philosophical build-up, the ultimate reality is seen in that way by Sankhya and Yoga, and it is seen in this way by Advaita. You will reach the same thing. This I am telling you as the final answer. There is a step below this where there is a disputation. The Vedantin will say, no, that's not the final thing, that's stage one, like I said yesterday. And the Sankhyan will say, no, this is the final thing, and they will quarrel with each other. But the fact is, both of you have touched. See, even the first intuition which we had yesterday, insight, I am pure consciousness, let the world be whatever it is. Have you touched, have you reached, have you grasped, let's say all within quotes, that ultimate reality or not? Yes. Once you have touched it, it's done. Whether you realize the whole universe is a manifestation of that consciousness, and that's secondary, that comes later. So yes, it's a good question to end the session with. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Never give up devotional practices, never give up meditative practices, never give up service, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga. Don't give those up because of this. Many people become over enthusiastic. Let me tell you, it's not like call the cops, I'm not giving up the microphone. One of the most radical non-dualist Swamis I met in the Himalayas, he was very non-dualistic. In fact, to the extent, and he would say, stay alone in the Himalayas. And so I used to have long walks and discussions. He would say about himself, Are Mahatma ji, hum to adha nastik hai. Oh Swami, I am half an atheist. So to that extent, now see, the fun of it. When I was supposed to return, I wanted to return to him a book which he had lent me. So I went to his hut in the afternoon, about 3 o'clock. And this radical non-dualist, who does not even have a picture of the Guru in his cottage, not even any god, goddesses, not even his own Guru, doesn't even have a picture of that. Though strangely, he has a picture, you will not believe it, of the Holy Mother in the cottage. Anyway, that's a different thing. I went in there, and this staunch non-dualist, little hut, 1/3 the size of this, just above the Ganga. There's a cot. He was sitting on the cot, a shawl around him, and the rosary in his hand, and doing japa. Absolutely immersed in it. He didn't even notice when I came in and left. So I was surprised. This guy, he keeps talking about the highest Brahman, never about devotion, mantra, japa, nothing other. He's dismissive about the whole thing. He laughs at it. And he is doing japa at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and with such devotion. So I asked another monk, who was a Punjabi, old Nath Sampradaya Swami. He said, this Swami, you know what he's like. And now I just saw he's there in his cottage, he's doing japa, he's repeating mantra. It's a devotional practice. And this old Swami laughed and said, Are wo to chupa Rustam hai. Secret master. He has two sides to it, an external side of knowledge and philosophy and all, and a deep personal side of absolutely personal devotion.